Yeah, anonymous like in, yeah, nice.
Okay. Hello, hi. This is a bandit paper, but with a slightly different model, a non-stochastic bandit model. In non-stochastic bandits, there are k actions, and there's some unknown, bounded, and deterministic assignment of losses to actions at every time step. And the game proceeds as follows. The player chooses an action, IT, possibly using some randomization, and incurs the loss assigned at that action for that time step. And then the player will get some feedback information that, being in the bandit model, just refers to the loss assigned to that action at that time step. And no other information is revealed to the player. And it's important to insist that the fact that the assignment is completely deterministic, so there's no randomization in the model, and you can think of this sequence of loss vectors as an unknown parameter of the game. So informally, the goal of the player is to control regret, which is the difference between the cumulative loss in expectation according to the randomization of the player and the cumulative loss of the single best action according to the assignment of losses to actions. All right, so this has, bandits have a large set of applications, and people who do these things for real claim that by using bandit modelization in the right settings, you can get between 15–20% improvement in performance. Okay. All right, so the workhorse of non-stochastic bandits is the wonderful XP3 algorithm. And this is an algorithm using exponential weights and loss estimates. Since you don't observe losses of all actions at all time steps, you need to resort to estimates. And these estimates, L hats, are just importance weighted estimates. That is, if you don't observe the loss of action I at MT, you just put an optimistic estimate of 0. Otherwise, you observe it, then you divide the observed loss by the probability of choosing that action at that time step. And there's a very sweet analysis of this algorithm that shows you that in expectation with the randomization of the player, according to these exponential weights, the regret with respect to the single best action is bounded by a square root of the number of actions and the length of the horizon. And this is tied up to log factors. All right, so this is pretty well known, a standard. We would like now to see, to look at a sort of a different scenario in which we have some complication in the model. So think of an advertising setting in which you are selling something and you have some marketing actions that you are performing on different channels, internet, radio, social media, and the effect of each action might result in sales that are scattered over a period of time, right? And furthermore, at every single point of time, maybe you're seeing a bump in your sales, but you cannot really discern what was the response, what marketing action was responsible for that bump of sales. Maybe it was a combination of different actions, but you don't really know. You just observe an increase in your sales, or maybe decrease. So the only thing we assume is that there is some non-bound D on the time after which your action will bear no more difference in the sales. So there is some limited horizon after which actions have exhausted their effect. So more formally, we want to model this as the following. So now we think of the loss of an action at a given time step as a sum of contributions that are adversarially decided, and they are also scattered over time, so over the next D time steps. So whenever you observe some loss at a given time step, now your loss is the sum of D contributions that refer to the immediate contribution of the loss you played at that time step, and then the delayed contributions of previous losses, according to this split of loss over time. Okay. So now, you see, it becomes complicated because your loss at MT will depend on a set of actions, at most the actions, and you only observe the sum of the contributions of these actions. You don't observe the individual values. And furthermore, the loss of each action is scattered over D time steps in a completely adversarial way. So just to give you a feeling of the model, here's the player. Time 1, he plays action I1, and this is the scattering over time. We are assuming an horizon of 3 time steps here. So at time 2, it will play a different action. At time 3, it will play again a different action. And for instance, at time 3, the observed loss will be the sum of the second contribution of the third contribution of the first action played, the second contribution of the second action played, and the first contribution of the third action played. And this is the formula. Okay, I hope you got the model. And so now we have a corresponding notion of regret, which now refers to the fact that losses in some sense have memory. So you're now competing with the composite loss that you are experiencing in your sequence of actions with respect to the best, again, to the best single action that you could have played consistently over time. So how do you go about bounding regret in this setup? One thing, well, it's kind of easy, no? If you think about it. I can just play in blocks. I can just stick to the same action for a period of time, and I can sort of, I can neutralize the adversary, because after d time steps, the effect of the loss, so the loss I'm observing will be only contributed by the action I played in the last d time steps. So if I play, for instance, the same actions for 2 d time steps, in the last d time steps, the net effect of the loss I observe will be only given by the action I played in the block. Okay, so I can stick to the same action for blocks of 2d time steps, and I will have d time steps of clean actions in which everything I observe will be only caused by a single action and not by a combination of actions. In this case, by doing that, I will destroy the interference effect that I have in this model. So now the adversary can still do some damages. It can focus all losses on a single time step, for losses for the last d actions on a single time steps. But again, if I sort of average over the second half of each 2d long block, I will have that on average, the composite loss of a single action over d consecutive time step will be bounded by 2d. So it means that on every second half of each block of length 2d, I will have 2 units of loss on average for each step of these 2 blocks. So this is now I sort of made a reduction between this model, at least on the green blocks, and I have a clean bandit model on the green blocks. So summarizing, I can stick to the same action for 2 blocks, red and green, and then I can feed the XP3 with the average loss of the green block. And now I have like a standard bandit on the green blocks, which is just with a shorter time horizon of t over d. And the loss will be scaled by d. However, if I can control the loss, the regret over the green blocks, the red blocks are completely out of control because I still have interference over the green block, the red blocks. So how to control that? I can use this thing that the probabilities in XP3 are stable. So exponential ways have this property that the probability vector doesn't change much over time. So by doing that, I can hide the location of the red blocks from the adversary so that the adversary cannot concentrate all the losses on the red blocks and cause a big regret to me. And I do that by randomizing the location of these red blocks. And so I make it fuzzy, and the adversary doesn't know where these red blocks are located anymore. And I can then use the stability of XP3 probabilities in order to show that this randomization of the location of the red blocks is not causing too much regret to the algorithm. And then I get a final regret which will scale like KT, as in the standard case, times D. And this can be shown to be optimal up to logarithmic factor by reduction to linear bandits. So I'm essentially over time. This is, the reduction is pretty general, so we can handle with the same trick, we can handle more general bandit model like linear bandits and convex bandits with smooth losses. And this is sort of a final piece of a puzzle in bandit analysis with delay. So without delay, we have the standard bound. And then with standard delayed feedback with no anonymity, we have this tight regret. And now we are adding this other piece that sort of shows you how, in different settings, the performance of bandits will depend on the delay. And all these bounds are tight. Thanks a lot.
Questions, comments for?
So what happens if you have a similar model, but now it becomes stochastic? Like, so the scope could be more in the future, like Yeah. There are papers that study the stochastic case. You will have the dependence on the delay will be additive rather than multiplicative. All right. So there's a paper I can show you, different authors studying the stochastic case.
Another quick question, maybe.
Do we know hyperability bounds?
Sorry.
Do we know hyperability bounds?
No, not yet.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.